I bought the smart doorbell because 2 packages had disappeared from my front porch in less than a month. The police couldn't do much without video, so I spent a couple $100 on one of the newest AI-powered doorbell cameras. It could recognize people, cars, animals, and even send live alerts directly to my phone. At first, it worked perfectly. Delivery drivers, neighbors, the occasional stray cat. Nothing unusual. Then, exactly 12 days after installing it, everything changed. It was a Tuesday night. Around 11, I locked every door, checked every window, turned off the downstairs lights, and went to bed. I lived alone. The neighborhood was quiet. It was one of those places where people forgot to lock their cars because nothing ever happened. At exactly 3:17 a.m., my phone vibrated on the nightstand. Motion detected. Front door. Half asleep, I picked up my phone. The live notification showed a frozen image. Someone was standing at the end of my walkway. He wasn't moving. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't trying to hide. He was simply standing there. The porch light wasn't bright enough to show his face clearly. All I could make out was a tall man wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. His hands were inside his pockets. I tapped Live View. The video loaded. Rain fell quietly onto the sidewalk. The man remained perfectly still. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. He never moved. He never looked away from my house. I whispered to myself, "What are you doing?" As if he could somehow hear me after almost 40 seconds. He slowly turned around, then walked away. Not quickly, not nervously, just walked. I waited another minute before looking outside through my bedroom window. The street was empty, no cars, no people, nothing. The next morning I watched the recording again. Everything looked exactly the way I remembered it. 43 seconds. No sound, no doorbell, no attempt to come closer. I showed the video to my coworker, Ethan. He laughed. Probably some drunk guy. At 3 in the morning? People do weird things. I wanted to believe him. That night I barely thought about it until my phone vibrated again. 3:17 a.m. motion detected, front door. I opened the notification immediately. It was him. The same hoodie, the same height, the same posture, only this time. He wasn't standing at the end of the walkway. He was halfway up the path. Closer, much closer, again. He didn't move, didn't knock, didn't ring the bell, didn't even glance toward the street. He simply stared directly at my front door. Exactly 38 seconds later, he turned around and disappeared into the darkness. By morning, I convinced myself it was just an incredibly strange coincidence. 2 nights, same time, same person. Maybe he lived nearby. Maybe he was sleepwalking. Maybe there was a logical explanation I just hadn't thought of yet. After work, I checked every setting in the Doorbell app. Motion sensitivity, recording zones, AI detection. Everything looked normal. Out of curiosity, I zoomed in on the man's face from the previous night's recording. The image sharpened, then became blurry, then sharpened again. For just a fraction of a second. It almost looked like he was smiling. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile someone gives when they already know something you don't. I closed the app, locked every door again, and told myself that if he showed up a third time, I'd call the police. That night, I didn't sleep at all. At 3:16 a.m., I was already sitting in my living room, staring at my phone. 1 minute later, it vibrated. Motion detected. I didn't open the app immediately. Instead, I slowly looked through the small glass window beside my front door. The walkway was empty. No one. Then my phone vibrated a second time. I looked down. The notification wasn't from the front camera anymore. It read, for a few seconds, I couldn't move. The notification clearly said, motion detected. Back door. My front porch was empty. I had just looked. So how could someone already be behind my house? I slowly backed away from the front door and grabbed the baseball bat I kept beside the coat closet. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. The house was completely silent. No footsteps, no voices, nothing. I opened the Doorbell app. The live feed from the front camera showed an empty porch. Rain continued falling softly beneath the street lights. I switched to the backyard camera. The image loaded. At first, nothing. Then, the motion sensor outlined a figure standing just outside my back fence. The same man, the same dark hoodie. His hands were still inside his pockets. He wasn't trying to climb the fence. He wasn't hiding. He simply stood there, looking directly at my back door. I whispered to myself, no. He couldn't possibly know where every camera was. I zoomed in. The image became grainy. His hood covered most of his face. But I could clearly see one thing. He was smiling. Not a normal smile. It looked calm, patient, like he knew he had all the time in the world. I immediately called 911. The dispatcher answered after the second ring. My name is Daniel, I whispered. Someone is outside my house. Can you describe him? I kept my eyes on the camera. A male, tall, dark hoodie. He's just standing there. Is he trying to get inside? No. Is he threatening you? No. Is he carrying a weapon? I can't tell. The dispatcher paused. Officers are on the way. Stay inside. Keep your doors locked. I thanked her and ended the call. The patrol car arrived less than 8 minutes later. Blue lights reflected across the wet street. 2 officers searched my front yard, then my backyard. Nothing. No footprints, no damaged fence, no sign that anyone had ever been there. I showed them the recordings. Both officers watched the videos in complete silence. One of them finally looked at me. Has anyone else been bothering you recently? No. Any problems at work? Any recent arguments? I shook my head. They couldn't explain it. Before leaving, one officer suggested installing another camera facing the side of the house. The next afternoon, I bought 2 more. Now every side of my property was covered. That night, I promised myself I wouldn't panic. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the notification arrived again. Person detected, not motion. Person detected. I opened the recording. The man was no longer standing near the fence. He was standing at the bottom of my porch steps, closer than ever before. The AI highlighted his body with a blue box. Another message appeared beneath it. Person recognized. I frowned. Recognized? I'd never seen this man before. I tapped the notification history. The app listed every detection from the past 4 nights. Delivery driver, neighbor, cat, mail carrier. Then, a new label. Frequent visitor. My blood ran cold. The system believed he belonged there. Before I could process what I was seeing, another notification appeared. Not from the doorbell. From the indoor security camera I'd installed in my living room. For a second, I couldn't breathe. My indoor camera had never detected movement before. I opened the notification. The recording began. The living room was dark. Only the television reflected a faint blue light across the furniture. Nothing moved. Then, the AI drew a blue box around something. Near the hallway. I stared at the screen. There was no person, no animal, nothing. Yet the camera continued tracking something invisible. The blue box slowly moved across my living room, stopped outside the kitchen. Then, the recording ended. I replayed it 3 more times. Every time, the blue tracking box followed the exact same path, as if someone was walking through my house without appearing on camera. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I contacted the company that made the doorbell. After almost 40 minutes on hold, a technician answered. I explained everything: the repeated recordings, the AI recognizing the stranger, the indoor camera tracking empty space. He became unusually quiet. Finally, he asked, "Can you give me the serial number of your doorbell?" I read it to him. More silence. Then he said something that made my stomach tighten. "Sir, that device was already registered before you activated it." "What do you mean?" "It was installed at this address by the previous homeowner, but I bought it brand new. According to our system, it's been active here for almost 3 years." I felt the blood drain from my face. "That's impossible. I don't know what to tell you." The call ended with no explanation. That afternoon, I drove to the real estate office that had sold me the house. The woman who handled my paperwork still remembered me. When I asked about the previous owner, her smile disappeared. "You actually met him?" "No. I just need to ask him something." She hesitated. "He moved away almost a year ago." "Do you have a phone number?" She looked around before writing an address on a sticky note. "He lives about 30 minutes north of here. Please don't tell him I gave this to you." That evening, I drove there. The house looked old, small. The yard hadn't been mowed in weeks. An elderly man answered after my second knock. When I told him my address, he immediately stopped smiling. "You bought that house?" "Yeah, come inside." His living room was filled with moving boxes, as if he had never completely unpacked. I told him everything: the notifications, the man, the recordings, the AI calling him a frequent visitor. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he slowly stood up, opened a closet, pulled out a cardboard box. Inside were dozens of printed screenshots, doorbell recordings. Every single picture showed the same man, standing outside the same house at exactly 3:17 a.m. The dates stretched back almost 3 years. "He came every night," the old man whispered. "For how long?" "I stopped counting after 8 months." "Why didn't you call the police?" "I did. They never found anyone." I picked up one of the photographs. The stranger looked farther away than in my videos, almost at the sidewalk. Then another photo, closer, another, standing beside the mailbox. Then, one picture made my hands shake. The man wasn't outside anymore. He was standing on the porch, only a few feet from the front door. I looked up. "What happened after this?" The old man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked directly into my eyes, then quietly said, "One night, he stopped appearing on the doorbell." I swallowed hard. "Did he finally leave?" The old man's face turned pale. "No, he didn't leave. He got inside." I couldn't stop staring at him. "What do you mean?" "He got inside?" The old man looked toward his front window before answering. "For months, I'd thought the doorbell was protecting me." He let out a quiet laugh. "It wasn't. It was warning me." He pulled one final photograph from the bottom of the box. Unlike the others, this one wasn't taken outside. It came from an indoor security camera. The stranger stood at the end of a hallway, inside the house. His face was still hidden beneath the hood. He wasn't moving, he wasn't searching, he was simply standing there. I looked up. Did you ever find out who he was? The old man slowly shook his head. No. But after that night, I sold the house. I drove home in complete silence. The rain had started again. Every traffic light seemed to take forever to change. I kept looking into my mirrors, half expecting to see someone following me. When I finally turned onto my street, everything looked normal. My porch light was still on. The windows were dark. No strange cars, no one outside. I parked, but I didn't get out immediately. Instead, I opened the Doorbell app. Front camera empty, back camera empty, side camera empty. I finally convinced myself to go inside. Every room looked exactly the way I'd left it. I locked every door, closed every blind, turned on every downstairs light. Then I checked the app one more time. 11:42 p.m. Nothing. I sat on the couch pretending to watch television. Midnight passed. 1 o'clock. 2. At exactly 3:17 a.m. My phone vibrated. Person detected front door. I opened the notification. The stranger was standing directly in front of my porch, closer than he'd ever been before. For the first time, I could almost see his face. He slowly lifted his head and looked straight into the camera. The AI drew a blue box around him. Then another notification appeared beneath it. Known person detected, I whispered. What? Known person? I'd never added anyone to the recognition list. Before I could react, the front camera suddenly went black. Camera offline. A second later, the backyard camera disappeared. Then the side camera, one by one. Every outdoor camera went offline. Only one camera remained. The indoor camera in my hallway. The live feed opened automatically. The hallway was empty. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a shadow slowly crossed the floor. Not outside, inside my house. It moved past the hallway camera, toward the living room. My blood froze. Someone was inside. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. As it rang, I heard something, not from the speakers, not from outside, from upstairs. A slow, heavy footstep. Then another. Someone was walking across the second floor. I backed toward the front door, never taking my eyes off the staircase. Another step. Then another. The dispatcher answered. 911, what's your emergency? I whispered. He's inside. The dispatcher immediately began asking questions, but I couldn't answer, because a voice came from upstairs. Calm, quiet, almost friendly. I know you're awake. Every light in my house suddenly went out. Complete darkness. Only my phone screen illuminated the room. Then, my smart doorbell chimed. Ding. Dong. For the first time, he finally rang the bell. The sound echoed through the entire house. Ding. Dong. For the first time in almost 3 weeks, he had actually pressed the doorbell. My hands were shaking so badly that I almost dropped my phone. The dispatcher kept talking. Sir, are you still there? I whispered. He's at my front door. Stay inside. Officers are less than 4 minutes away. 4 minutes, it sounded impossible. The footsteps upstairs stopped. The entire house became silent. No movement, no voices, nothing. Then my phone vibrated again. Front door camera back online. I immediately opened the live feed. The porch was empty, no stranger, no movement, only rain falling beneath the porch light. I almost believed it was over. Then another notification appeared. Motion detected, upstairs hallway. I froze. The indoor camera was still working. The video loaded. The hallway upstairs was empty. 5 seconds passed. Then, The bedroom door slowly opened by itself. No one appeared. The AI detected movement anyway. A blue box formed inside the doorway, following something. The blue box moved into the hallway, walked toward the stairs, stopped, as if someone invisible was standing there, looking directly at the camera. Then, the feed suddenly froze. 3 seconds later, every camera in the house went offline. My phone displayed only one message: connection lost. At that exact moment, someone grabbed the front doorknob. It turned slowly, once, twice, then harder. The deadbolt held. I backed into the kitchen, keeping the dispatcher on speaker. "He's trying to get in. Stay away from the door. Officers are almost there." The doorknob stopped moving. Silent. Then, 3 slow knocks, tap, tap, tap. The exact same pattern. Not loud, not angry, almost patient. Suddenly, I heard another sound. Glass. A small window near the laundry room shattered. Someone had entered the house. I ran toward the back hallway, locked myself inside the bathroom, and pushed the washing machine against the door as best I could. Every second felt like a minute. I could hear footsteps moving through my house, slow, calm, never rushing. Kitchen, living room, hallway. Then, outside the bathroom. The footsteps stopped. Whoever it was standing only a few feet away. I held my breath. Nothing happened. 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Then, police sirens, loud, getting closer. The footsteps immediately moved away. A second later, I heard my back door slam shut, then shouting, "Police! Hands where we can see them!" More shouting, running footsteps. Then, silence. The officers searched the neighborhood for nearly 2 hours. They never found him. Inside my house, investigators discovered something I had somehow never noticed. Behind a shelf in the laundry room, there was a narrow maintenance space between the walls, large enough for a person to crawl through. It connected to the attic. The attic connected to the garage. And from the garage, someone could enter the house through a damaged access panel hidden behind insulation. There were empty water bottles, food wrappers, a sleeping bag, and weeks' worth of cigarette butts. Someone had been living inside the walls of my house. Long before I bought it, the previous owner hadn't imagined anything. He had survived exactly what I had. I moved out less than a month later. The house was demolished the following year, after investigators discovered extensive hidden crawl spaces built during an illegal renovation decades earlier. People often ask why I never installed another smart doorbell. The truth is, I did. At my new house, a different city, a different state, a completely different life. For almost a year, everything was normal. Then, last Tuesday, at exactly 3:17 a.m., my phone vibrated. I smiled. Probably another raccoon. I opened the notification. The camera showed my empty front porch. No one was there, no movement, no shadows. Then, the AI highlighted something standing just outside the camera's field of view. A blue box appeared, floating over empty darkness. 1 second later, the system identified it. Known person detected. I never opened the app again.